she's breaking every record on irony. She's like, I am becoming an independent because the Democratic Party wanted to be independent of Joe Biden. And I hate that. I think they should have been completely dependent on our feeble mad king. The person who was pretending to be serving the presidency in an independent fashion, when in reality, Anthony Blinken was running foreign policy and Jill Biden was running domestic policy, and I was their mouthpiece. And the fact that we were not dependent enough on them makes me want to be really independent. I've never seen irony that thick.
Hi, I'm Karine Jean-Pierre, and I am the author of a new book that's coming out this fall called Independent. People that come up to me, strangers that come up to me, number one question they ask me is, Karine, how do we get out of this? How do we protect our democracy? Here's the truth, and here's how I will lay it out to you. I think we need to stop thinking in boxes and think outside of our boxes and not be so partisan.
Do you? Now, after years of being Joe Biden's biggest defender and also a mouthpiece for the Democratic Party, former White House press secretary Karine Jean-Pierre is now leaving the Democratic Party to become an independent. And I don't believe her. Okay, so she might now allegedly identify as an independent. Her actions don't really show it. Nonetheless, this shocking news comes as she announces her new book, which is titled Independent, a look inside a broken White House outside the party lines. It seems like this is a marketing effort for her book. And look, congratulations, everyone's talking about this, but mostly dunking on both the Democrats and the former White House press secretary. So it's described by the publisher as a groundbreaking, revelatory assessment of America's broken two-party system. And we do have a broken two-party system. The question is, does Karine Jean-Pierre really believe the Democratic Party is broken, or is there something else going on here? And it seems pretty ironic, to be honest with you, considering the fact that her entire job was to defend Joe Biden no matter what. How did she not know that he was suffering from severe cognitive decline? Like Jake, this is the thing that really stands out to me about all these. I'm gonna be nice and not call them grifters. I am not calling them grifters, but all these people who are out there like writing these books and pretending like they weren't part of the problem. How does this make any sense?
Yeah, no, it doesn't. It's bad in two different ways. And then we'll talk about whether we should take yes for an answer. In fact, we got that poll up on TYT.com. I think it's a good one. You know why? I came up with it. How do you feel about Karine Jean-Pierre becoming an independent? A, I'll take yes for an answer. B, too late, should have done it when it counted. C, she's a traitor for leaving the Democratic Party. Curious what you guys think, TYT.com on that one. Okay, so look, here's what I think. Yeah.
No, you're not going to share what you think. I got to give them the information, what she's saying in her books and the drama that's playing out with the Democrats.
No, I'm just going to preview that there's two parts in which this is a bit of a disaster, okay?
Go ahead.
Which two parts are those? I don't know, I'm going to tell you after Anna gives you all the details.
Thank you. All right, so the publisher's description reads, in a country obsessed with blind loyalty to a two-party democratic system, Karine Jean-Pierre shares why Americans must step beyond party lines to embrace life as independents. She didn't come to her decision to be an independent lightly. She has served two American presidents, Obama and Biden. She takes us through the 3 weeks that led to Biden abandoning his bid for a second term, and the betrayal by the Democratic Party that led to his decision. Okay, so I'm gonna pause already, Cenk, because betrayal by the Democratic Party that led to his decision. I mean, the Democratic Party, in my opinion, was ridiculous in kind of idly standing by when Biden initially announced that he'd be running for re-election. That was when the Democratic Party should have said something and prevented him from running for re-election. Yeah. But the idea that they're the bad guys because they pushed him out when he clearly should not have been running. I didn't think he was gonna win, but even if he won, really, we're okay with him being president? That's insane.
No, this is kind of amazing. I mean, I got the two things against it, but the one thing for it is that is a spectacularly unique argument that she's leaving the Democratic Party because they pushed out Biden, who clearly would have won if they just stuck with Biden, the young and dynamic president that we had. Maybe she could have stayed a Democrat, but now she's got to be an independent with Democratic Party acting like this. Now, is that really the argument? Because that seems like I can't believe that anyone would actually believe that. So yeah. It's totally unclear to me what she means by independent.
So look, that is consistent with her previous gripes, which she shared publicly. Here she is back in February complaining about Democrats attacking Biden. Let's take a look.
Personally, I think what was the toughest thing to see in the 3 weeks was there was a disconnect for me. What was happening with leadership in the Democratic Party and how it was truly, as my former colleague, communications director Ben LeBolt said, it was a firing squad. And I had never seen anything like it before. I'd never seen a party do that in the way that they did. And it was hurtful and sad to see that happening. A firing squad around a person who I believe was a true patriot. It was truly, truly unfortunate. And I think it hurt us more than I think folks realized.
You had never seen that before? Were you asleep in 2016 and 2020? You've never seen the Democratic Party engage in a firing squad against an intended target, like Bernie Sanders, for instance? Did you think that Biden would be safe because he was a veteran of the Democratic establishment? This is unbelievable, but go ahead. Don't buy her book. Please don't give her money. This is ridiculous. Go ahead, Jake.
Okay, so many amazing things in here. It was hurtful. Oh, your feelings were hurt that your boss was not going to get to be the candidate so that you could continue your employment with him and your power and status and fame. And because that hurt your fifis, now you're going to become an independent. And so wait, let me understand this better. She says that Joe Biden was a true patriot. A true patriot says, democracy is on the line if my opponent wins. I am in obvious mental decline. I cannot finish the sentence. And in the debates, I will say that we defeated Medicare, and literally nothing else I say will be understandable by anyone else. I will hand this election to Donald Trump, who I think is a fascist and will destroy America, just on the off chance that I might retain my own personal power. That's your true patriot? That's why you caught feelings. That's why you left the Democratic Party. That's amazing.
And look, I think that coming out as an alleged independent also is a calculated move given how many American voters now identify as independent. So political independents make up a dominant voting bloc with an average of 43% of US adults identifying as independent in 2023 per Gallup data. 2024 is when I registered as an independent myself, just because I was disgusted by everything I was seeing going on with the Democratic Party. And I felt this isn't a party that really represents me or the working class. And I don't identify as a Republican, so I'm kind of politically homeless. And increasingly, I think most Americans identify the same way. But does this look like someone who should be instructing other people to be independent? Take a look.
When you think about what he has done the last 4 years, when you think about who he has been as a human, as a person, by the time we're done, by the time we run through the finish line at the end of January, he would have done more than most presidents have done in 8 years. He would have done more in 4 years. Yeah. He is as sharp as ever, as I have known him to be in my engagement, in my experience with him.
We have a new poll from CBS News that says 72% of registered voters say the president does not have the mental and cognitive health to serve as president.
I'm not going to speak to every poll. I'm just not going to do that.
It would seem that people in this White House knew that President Biden was slipping, and it was hidden from the American people. So who ordered White House officials to cover up a declining president.
I know that that is a narrative that you love. It is not a cover-up. I know that is the narrative that you all want. It is not.
So now, her buddies in the Democratic Party, not happy with her, Cenk. We're gonna get to that in a moment, but any comment on her independent thought?
Yeah, God, she's breaking every record on irony. She's like, I am becoming an independent because the Democratic Party wanted to be independent of Joe Biden. And I hate that. I think they should have been completely dependent on our feeble mad king. The person who was pretending to be serving the presidency in an independent fashion, when in reality, Anthony Blinken was running foreign policy and Jill Biden was running domestic policy, and I was their mouthpiece. And the fact that we were not dependent enough on them makes me want to be really independent. I've never seen irony that thick. Okay, it makes no sense at all. Anna, you're 100% right that being independent is now chic, right? So she's like, oh yeah, I'm independent. I don't like establishment on establishment crime. I think that the establishment should always be in charge and the person at the top should always be obeyed. And that's why I'm an independent spirit.
Right. It's so crazy. Now, look, this has led to quite a bit of infighting among establishment Democrats, because that's what all these people are. So one of her former colleagues in the Biden administration who expressed their annoyance and frustration said of her book project, everyone thinks this is a grift. Myself included, by the way. Another former staffer said she made a joke about being an independent last year and now it's a book. All ideas are monetary, even the dumb ones.
Damn.
Another former White House official griped, she has been there. No, she was the public face telling us all that this White House was on track and that Biden was amazing. And now she doesn't even want to be a Democrat. She's making herself the middle ground here when Republicans hate her. She's not in any position to be a connector of our two-party system, and assuming she could be is just ego. And most of her former colleagues also made some snarky comments on social media. Look, a lot of them were commenting anonymously because they're cowards. Like, if you got something to say it with your whole chest and say it with your name. Jeremy Edwards, who actually served in the press shop under Karine Jean-Pierre, he's not a coward. He commented with a simple LOL, laughing out loud, to news that Karine Jean-Pierre has left the Democratic Party and is now an independent. And her aspirations to stay in the limelight apparently began while she was still press secretary. One former official said that Karine Jean-Pierre had begun working with a publicist during the Biden administration and had copied that person on official emails, okay, before some of her White House colleagues intervened. In fact, Alex Thompson talks about this a little bit. And two of the former officials also said that Karine Jean-Pierre had been hoping for a post-White House job as a co-host on The View, which apparently didn't pan out, Cenk. What a shame.
Yeah, so that's what this whole independence shtick's about. It's a media play. Because the media now loves independence, theoretically, right? In reality, those independents have to serve the establishment. So by the way, now that I thought about it that way, it might work. It might be perfect for like CNN to go, now here's a person who is a true independent. And then she comes on and makes every disgusting establishment point you could imagine. And CNN gets to declare her an independent. So maybe well played, because she's not playing to us. She's playing to the Washington, New York crowd. She has absolutely no base in the actual world, right? And so if there were any KJP fans, they would be attached to the Biden team, the Kamala Harris team, but those guys love the Democratic Party. So the fact that she's leaving the Democratic Party would be burning a bridge with them. So the only people left are TV executives, and that's what this is all about. And how loyal were you to Biden as you were talking to a publicist about a book you were going to write about Biden? Like, I did it because I am true. By the way, call me later, I'm writing a book about it. Okay, sure, whatever. So finally, Anna, let me just say the 2 reasons why I'm personally opposed to it. So do it when it counts, that's obvious, right? So don't tell me that all of a sudden you're an independent and you're willing to call out both parties, including the Democratic Party, when you were literally the mouthpiece for the Democratic Party. Okay, when it counted and you did nothing, in fact, you didn't do nothing, you were the person who packaged up the lies and tried to feed it to us. Okay, and then secondly, and this one might surprise you guys, I don't like the idea of people like her, not Anna and others. You're in media, you're a regular person, you do anything you like, and I 100% get the rise of independence, 100%. But if you're a big part of the Democratic Party, and she was the press secretary for the president of the United States, why don't you stick around and try to help fix it, right? So, I mean, that's what I'm doing. I'm trying to say, look, I don't think we should go in the establishment direction. I don't think we should go in the identity politics direction. I think we should go in the populist direction. So I'm staying and I'm trying to make that happen. Instead, she goes, ooh, I don't know, maybe I could angle for a media play if I'm a independent. I mean, the first question I would ask her is, independent how?
Yeah, 100%. I totally agree. I'm gonna read one comment here from one of our viewers. This is Embedded Dude who says, I'm an independent now, but I probably should go back to being a registered Democrat so I can vote in the primaries. That may be important. So I live in California, we don't have open primaries, which means if I wanna vote in the Democratic primary, I do have to be a registered Democrat. I know this sounds ridiculous, but I hate the current Democratic Party so much that I refuse to give them my registration until I need to be a registered Democrat to vote in the primaries, and then I'll go back to being an independent. I know that sounds crazy, but I'm willing to go through that process. Yeah, I can't stand them, Cenk. I can't stand them.
No.
Okay, they're so pathetic and so embarrassing. I feel embarrassed to see my registration as a Democrat. I'm just keeping it real. I don't want to give them anything. They don't deserve it, okay? But go ahead, tell me why you think it makes sense to be a registered Democrat.
No, I don't think you're crazy, is what I was gonna say.
Oh.
I get it,
Maybe
the
I should
majority of
let
the
you
country, yeah, I get it. The majority of the country is independents now, and those are the people that we should be trying to win over. That makes sense. I'm staying because I want to rebuild the Democratic Party back to what it was under FDR and take it in the right direction, because we need one of the major parties to go in the right direction. And the Republicans, we know what their answer is. Perpetual tax cuts for the rich. That's the only answer. That's the only answer they have, and they forgot the question. So we got to rescue one of the parties. But don't worry, all the independents like Anna will come back home if we give them the right option. Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.